Welcome to Ask and Learn.
We are given a state table and we're asked to construct the state diagram for the Moore machine with this state table. So first of all, notice that on the left side of the table we have all the states. So we have states S0, S1, S2, and S3. So we're going to make a node for each state, S0, S1, S2, and S3. I'm going to draw them in a square shape like this. Now, we're going to assign S0 as the start state. And now we're going to draw an arrow from state Si to state Sj with a label of A if the state Sj is mentioned in the row Si and in the column A under the inputs under F, in column A under so if A is the value under G in that row. And we're going to label an edge as the output at that state. So for starters, we have at S0 that if we input, for example, input a 0, then we obtain state S0 again. So we'll have an edge from S0 to itself. And moreover, we have that with state S0 as we have G of S0 is 0, so we're going to label this with a 0. Also, we have that if we input a 1 at state S0, then we move to state S2. And again, we're going to label this edge with a 0 because G of S0 is 0. It's the output from that state. Likewise, we have an edge from S1 to S0 labeled a 1. We have an edge from S1 to S3 labeled a 0. We also have an edge from S2 to itself. And we see that G of S2 is a 1. So we'll label this edge with a 1. My mistake. Okay, so I should be labeling the edges with the inputs. So when we input a 0 at S0, then we return to node S0. And if we input a 1 at S0, then we move to S2. So this should actually be an edge labeled with a 1. And likewise, if we input a 1 at S1, we return to S0. If we input a 1 at S2, then we return to S1. If we put a 0 in at S2, then we return to S2. And we see that if we input a 0 at S3, we move to S2. And if we input a 1 at S3, we move to S0. So that covers it all. And then we're also going to write the output at that state as a label next to the state. So we have the output at S0 is 0, so I'm going to label this state with a 0. And then we have the output at the rest of the states is 1, so I'm going to label the rest of the states with a 1. S1 is a 1, S2 is a 1, and S3 has a 1. So this is our state graph.